Hey guys, it's Tyler with 3D Printing Basics. I just wanted to let you know if you are interested in hearing this episode ad-free with no fluff, no nothing, just the information that you're looking for, please check me out on my Patreon page. I'm going to drop a link down in the show notes below. Again, if you want to listen to this episode with no ads and all my other episodes with no ads, please be sure to check out my Patreon page. It would really help support me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Hello, and welcome back to 3D Printing Basics. This is episode number 22, and for this episode, I want to get a little bit personal with you guys. I'm sure you guys probably think it's all sunshine and rainbows for me in the 3D printing world, but it's not. And I want to discuss about the few problems that I'm having currently with my 3D printers. Before we get into that, I would like to mention that we are well on our way to 100 5-star reviews, and once we get there, I will be giving away a printer to one of my lucky listeners. It is a Sovol SVO6, and I'm a really big fan of it, and I love it, and I'm excited to give it away to one of my listeners and help kickstart their 3D printing journey.
ABC Wednesday.
Y'all complain all day. We want books. We want paper towels in the classroom. Bet you want raises too.
I'm still waiting on the paper towels.
Abbott Elementary returns with the new season.
We asked the district for more after-school programs. They gave us $50 for class pets instead.
Critics cheer. Abbott Elementary continues to be one of the funniest and most beloved shows on TV.
What y'all doing out there?
Taking bribes.
Proud of y'all.
Abbott Elementary. Season premiere Wednesday, 9:30, 8:30 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
All right, with that being said, let's jump right into today's episode. To start, I'm going to talk about the biggest issue that I'm having with one of my printers right now, and it is actually a problem I'm having with my Bambu Lab X1 Carbon. And the issue I'm having here seems to be happening during printing. So a few weeks ago, I was printing parts, nothing crazy, just everything was cranking out as usual, and then all of a sudden it stopped printing. And it said the filament may be stuck. That's the error that it threw. And in my personal experience, when this happens, I normally just press resume on the print and then start it up again. And that seems to solve the problem. But this time I did it like 8, 9, 10 times, and it still was stuck and wouldn't print. So finally, I stopped the print, which was about 20 hours in, by the way. So I wasn't super happy about that. But I had to stop the print. I unscrewed everything. I took everything apart to take a look at what had happened. And it turns out what I thought happened was the filament sensor part, which is a plastic part, had melted a little bit. And so that's what I thought the problem was that the filament wasn't able to get through there because it was melted. And so I got a new filament sensor, put it in there, and it still didn't work. It still was having problems. It said every time I tried to start it, it said the filament is stuck, this, that, and the other. I tried sticking an Allen key down there while it was hot to see if it was maybe just clogged and tried to get that out of there. It definitely wasn't clogged because I was able to push some filament out. So it definitely wasn't that. And then what I thought had happened was I thought the extruder gear was seized. And the reason I thought that is because when I took everything apart and tried to put a piece of filament through everything, it got stuck on the extruder gear, and no matter how hard I pushed, it refused to go through it. And so that's what I thought the problem was. I thought the extruder gear had seized because it had been running for pretty close to a year then. So it wasn't like it was the craziest thing. I mean, I wasn't super happy. I would expect extruders to last longer than that, but it was no big deal. At the end of the day, I bought a new extruder, and it seemed like everything was going to be okay. Everything seemed to work, so I definitely thought that was the issue. But I came out to something I was printing a couple days ago, and I found the same exact error being thrown. And this was honestly really frustrating because at this point, I've replaced almost every part of the hot end. I've replaced the cutter knife because I thought that might have been the issue. I replaced the extruder. I replaced the filament sensor. I even replaced the hot end. I exchanged it with a brand new one because I thought maybe there was just a clog in the hot end that was completely stuck and there was no way of getting it out. So I replaced it with a brand new hot end. And the fact that after replacing almost every single part of the hot end assembly and it's still having this problem was really frustrating for me. And I was honestly really pissed off about it. So I have left it. I haven't touched it. I would say this happened 3 or 4 days ago because I honestly am not too sure what to do. But I think the plan moving forward for me is I'm going to start with replacing the hot end again and see if that's a problem, because at least the thing that I know for sure is it's not the filament sensor and it's not the extruder, because those are brand new replaced parts that are weeks old at most. So I definitely know that that's not the problem. So I'm going to replace the hot end. And if that becomes a problem, if it's still a problem is what I meant. If it's still a problem, then I'm going to call Bamboo Labs and I'm going to start a support ticket. I'm going to see if they can help me figure this out, because if it's not that, then honestly, I'm not too sure what's happening. I don't know if it's something I'm doing. I don't know if I waited too long in between maintenance. At this point, if this doesn't work, I honestly don't know what to do. And it's been really frustrating because this was the most expensive printer by far. And this is the one that I've had the most problems with. Like I would assume if I'm spending almost $1,600 on a printer, I would assume that besides being feature pack, I would assume that it is built really well and would not have these problems with less than a year ownership on it. I didn't think I would have to be replacing an extruder, which is not a cheap part. I didn't think I would have to be doing that, before I even have this printed for a year. So overall, this has been really frustrating for me and very time consuming. And I don't like having this printer out because this is the only printer that I have that has 2 AMS units on it. So it's the only printer that I have that can print more than 4 colors. So right now, if I get an order on my Etsy shop for a print that requires more than 4 colors, I'm kind of dead in the water. So that's pretty frustrating, but I'm hoping that I can definitely get it figured out soon and just pretty much figure it out. Hopefully. I honestly, I'm just pretty frustrated. It's hard for me to collect my thoughts on this issue because it's so frustrating for me. When something like this happens, as I've already said, less than a year of owning this printer, and when something like this happens, I'm just so frustrated, especially with a company like Bamboo Labs, a company that I believe in and a company that I put my trust in so much. It's very annoying and very frustrating to have this happen to me, but hopefully this is just a one-time thing, and I'm honestly hoping that it's just my printer. That might be a defect or something like that, so that other people don't have this problem, because I put my heart and soul behind this company. So I really hope that it's just a me thing and not a printer thing. All right. With that being said, let's jump into another issue that I'm having. And this issue actually occurred today. Today I was printing some raffle boxes and everything was going smoothly. This person wanted it in blue, and I used up the blue PLA filament roll that I have. If you want to know, it's Overture PLA filament. Really good. I really like it. And I loaded up a new roll today, and I noticed that the seal was not sealed. So when you get a new box of filament, it normally comes in a box, and then the actual roll itself is sealed. It's vacuum sealed with plastic. And I noticed that was not the case. There was plastic on it, but you could tell there might have been like a little hole in it, but it definitely wasn't vacuum sealed because it was loose. And normally this happens to me on probably 25% of the rolls that I get, and usually it's not a big deal, but this roll has been sitting around for a few weeks, and where I live in California, it's been pretty rainy and wet these last few weeks. And so anyways, I loaded up and I start printing, and I printed something overnight. I printed a raffle box, and I go out to check it this morning, and it is just one of the worst prints that I've ever seen in my life. It's just, it under extruded the whole entire way. It just looks terrible. I'll put a picture of it on my Instagram for those of you who are following me and want to see what it looks like, but it just looks absolutely horrendous. And it's pretty obvious that the filament itself was super wet and had absorbed a lot of moisture in the few weeks that it was sitting in storage. So that is just kind of a lesson that I wanted to talk about and show the rest of my audience that just because you buy a filament and you haven't even used it yet doesn't mean it will not absorb moisture just sitting in the box, because these seals, they come vacuum sealed, they're supposed to, but these seals will break. And if the seals break and they're sitting in a wet environment for a few weeks, especially the 3 main filaments that I use, the PLA, PETG, and TPU, very hygroscopic, and they will absorb the moisture and they will allow for the moisture to get in, which will compromise your prints right off the jump. Thankfully for me, I have a nice filament dryer, so I'm going to be able to just toss that in for a few hours, and then it's going to come out okay, and I'm going to go back and have no issues. But this is just something that I wanted to talk about because I believe it's a good lesson for my listeners of, hey, just make sure to double check everything, check the seals on your prints, especially if you're using super expensive filament. It might be a good idea just to, even after you buy it, even if it's sealed, just break that seal and then toss it in the dryer for a few hours just to make extra sure that you're not going to have any problems and to make sure you have a good storage system to keep these filaments dry. Okay, and the last issue I'm going to talk about today is the bed adhesion issues that I'm currently having. So on 3 of my printers, I have custom textured plates. Well, they're not custom. I ordered them online. I wouldn't say they're custom, but they are non-Bambu Labs sold textured plates. And they're honestly the best textured PEI plates that I've ever used in my life. They're so good. I have yet to have a print come apart on them or come delaminate. The first layer adhesion with these plates is absolutely fantastic. With that being said, I only have 3 of them, and I have 5 Bambu Labs printers. And I primarily use the textured PEI plates, which means 2 of these printers that I'm using have the stock Bambu Labs plates. And in my personal experience, I don't know if it's different for other people, but these textured PEI plates that Bambu Labs come stock with are not good for me. They don't last for more than 3 hours on a print or 4 hours on a print before you start having some delamination issues. And to me, that's really disappointing. I would think, especially textured PEI plates, their whole selling point is that they're better for first layer adhesion and that they stick longer and they do better. But in my personal experience, I find that the smooth PEI plates work better for the first layer adhesion. They work better than the textured PEI plates that they come with. And I know that this isn't just a me problem. I've talked to a few other people who have Bambu Labs printers, and almost none of them use the stock textured PEI plates. They almost all have some kind of off-market or a dupe or a different kind of textured PEI plates. But if you're looking for the ones that I ordered, these are expensive, honestly. They're about $50-$60, but I'll put a link to them down in the description, and I'll put a link to a different one that I have that still works really good that I got off Amazon. But the issue that I'm having is I don't have enough plates to put these all on my printer, and it's hard to justify spending $120 on some new textured PEI plates when you already have 3. And that's also something that I find a little frustrating with Bambu Labs, is that when your texture bed, when the thing that comes stock with the printer isn't up to par and it's not good, and you have to spend additional money in order to make this printer what I want it to be, that's really frustrating. I would assume if I'm spending however much money on a printer, $600 to $1,600, I would hope that they could give me a good bed that's going to last for 12 hours before delaminating at least, and I don't expect a top-notch, fantastic, filament type bed in order to keep prints, keep the first layer bed adhesion fantastic all the way through. I just want something that's decent, not something that only lasts for 3 or 4 hours before you have bed delamination issues or have to make it so that you have to use a brim on everything, which me personally, I hate brims. They don't suck. They're very useful and they work well, but I hate using them because I hate having to clean them up. All right, and those are the issues that I'm dealing with today. Like I said, I didn't want to make you think that my printing life is perfect, because it's definitely not. I have issues just like you guys, and with that being said, I hope that you are able to relate to me a little more. I don't want to become this all-knowing figure in your lives who you guys think have no problems. I want you guys to know that I'm just like you, and that's why I started this podcast, so that I can help out the beginners who are just like me and can use some help and some tips that I never got personally. So I hope that's what you're getting out of this podcast. With that being said, I have a Google form in the show notes. Please let me know what issues you're having and if you have found a solution for it. If not, feel free to send me an email as well. I will take a look at these and I will try to answer any questions that you have. I feel like I've been pretty good about answering the questions that I'm getting emailed about. I don't think I've missed one yet. But I just really appreciate all the support that you guys are giving me, and I appreciate you guys reaching out to me and asking for help, because that's why I started this podcast, and that's what I'm hoping to continue to have happen. With that being said, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.